For this quadratics practice, you're not doing a lot of working out the quadratics, but simply putting them on a graph. So, for example, this first one, our first ordered pair is -3, 2. So you go to -3 on the x-axis and +2 on the y, and there's your ordered pair. The second dot is at -2, 0. So -2 is the x, 0 for y, so it's on the x-axis. Then -1, 0. It's right here. 0, 2, 0 for x, 2 for y. 1, 6, 2, 12. We can't plot. So at this point, I want you guys to go ahead and draw your parabola. So the parabola is the U shape that makes up a quadratic. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're only drawing a certain amount of dots on here. So just make it as even as you possibly can. So for the next two, since you're just plotting dots and drawing the curve, keep going with those. For the back of this paper, what it wants you doing is first you have to plug in these values of x to find out your value for y. So what I would do is create another column for your y values and let the middle be your work. So for each of these, we have -2, the x value squared plus 1. -2, the x value squared plus 1. So the only thing I'm doing is I'm taking out that x from each of these because we're going to put in those x values to find out what the y is equal to. All right, so at this point we can plug in our x values and then we can solve. So if we plug in a -3 here, -3 times -3, -3 squared, is +9. +9 times -2 is -18. Plus 1 is -17. So you can work your way through this entire table. Use the Desmos calculator. Go to www.desmos.com/scientific. And as you plug those in, you'll end up with, -2 plugged in for x, and you get out -7. When you plug in a -1 for x, you get out a -1. Plug in 0, +1. Plug in +1, and you get -1. And you plug in a 2, and you're going to get -7. It's okay for these numbers to repeat because just like on the front, that shape goes, it's a curve. It's a U shape, whether it's right side up or upside down, it's a U shape. So because it has a U shape, the y values are going to repeat, and that is okay. So when you go to put this one on the graph, we obviously cannot do this -3, -17 ordered pair. So we're going to start with the second one down. So we have -2, -7. Oops, there we go. -2, -7. And then -1, -1. 0, +1. 1, -1. And the last one is 2, -7. So now that we have some of these dots, you do not want this to be a pointed shape. It is a U shape. So you want it to have a bit of a curve when you get to the top of it, because it is a curved U shape, not a pointed V shape. So we'll go ahead and do the next one together as well. So again, all you're doing is you're plugging in for the x value. Just because this one has two x's in its expression does not make it that much different. So we have, there's an x squared minus 3x. So again, make that that last column, that third column. So then we have x squared minus 3 times x. All right, so our first x value we're plugging in. So let's get that again. So there's x, there's x. So our first x value we're plugging in is -3. So when you plug in -3 for x, you end up with -3 times -3 is +9. -3 times -3 is +9. So +9 plus 9 is 18. So our next x value is the -2. So we're going to plug in -2. And when we plug that into Desmos or any other calculator, you get out a 10. Our next x value is -1. You plug that into your calculator, you get 4. And so forth. So continue through your table until it's filled in. So now that we have our x values and our corresponding y values, we can plot all of these points on your coordinate plane. So our first ordered pair is -3, 18. We can't put that on our graph, so we're going to skip it and move on. So our next ordered pair is -2, 10. So we go to -2, 10. And then our next ordered pair is -1, 4. So we go -1, 4. Our next ordered pair is 0, 0, the origin. And then 1, -2. And 2, -2. And 3, 0. So at this point, I can see just the general shape of this parabola. So remember, the parabola is the shape that a quadratic makes on a graph. So we have this U shape that will end up on our graph.